All right, so our top 10 Dario Argento films. Now, I put like three honorable mentions. So I'll list off those. Two Evil Eyes from 1990. It's not the best Argento movie, but I mean,
Hmm.
from what I consider, his debut with Bird with the Crystal Plumage all the way to Opera, those nine movies are just excellent. And
Hmm.
then right after Opera, then we get this, and it's him with Romero. They work together on Dawn of the Dead, so it's cool to see them that they work together again, and they do the two Edgar Allan Poe stories, and Argento does the Black Cat. Great effects in this. Like I know that Harvey Keitel actually was like he didn't want his severed head prop like near him because it was bugging him out. Like, and it was like actually put into his contract, like that the severed head must be like kept away from Harvey Keitel at all times,
No
like because it
way.
was really like convincing and bugged him out.
He's probably like this as well. Like,
Yeah,
he just
get
does
that
that thing
thing.
with his face. That's
I just like get that thing away from me. So he
he's
wanted nothing
got
to do with that head, but I
he's
think
got such an expressive face as well. To
oh
be
yeah,
fair,
I know.
he's
Imagine
like,
what I think it is something like with his like mouth agape or something like that, or
yeah,
it's
because
something funny. But yeah, he wanted
uh,
nothing to do with being around that his own head prop. But it's a great
yeah.
movie. Like it's definitely better than a lot of stuff to come from
Yeah, I've
Argento.
seen it. I've seen it, and I almost instantly forgot it. And I love both Romero and Argento, and I actually recently been getting back into that sort of sweet spot of Harvey Keitel films as well. So like where sort of Bad Lieutenant and Mean Streets, and the ones
Yeah,
where he's just
Mean
full
Streets.
of physicality and anger and frustration. And the one,
Yeah.
the cop killer with John Lydon in it, which is
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
an insane film. Um, and he's good in that too. He's great in that. And you think you put those three elements together, you're going to get a great film. But I was a little bit disappointed with the film in general, really. And it would I hadn't even thought about it for my honorable mentions, so I'm glad you mentioned it.
But yeah, Two Evil Eyes. Mother of Tears, we were talking a little bit ago about 2007, which I think
Yeah,
is
that's
a
on my
great.
list. That is on my
Yeah.
list.
Then I just threw in Demons 1 through 2 and The
Yeah.
Church by Michael Suavi, since I mean Argento didn't direct them, but he co-wrote the screenplays,
Hmm.
produced them, so I figured those had to be just mentioned. I mean, Demons is
Yeah.
an absolute classic. And Roberto
Yeah.
Bava, I love almost everything by. Demons 2 is a great sequel, and The Church is pretty much considered
Yeah.
Demons 3. And I
But
feel like
yeah, I
while
like
not
Demons
on the
3.
I feel like
Yeah.
while not on the same level as the first Demons at all, but like I feel like it rivals Demons 2.
I enjoy that film. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like
I
it
enjoy that.
rivals Demons 2 for sure.
Yeah,
But
man.
those are
I
my
definitely
honorable
agree.
mentions.
Yeah, I was gonna say all certainly the Demons, and mention his kind of input on Dawn of the Dead as well. But you said that. So yeah, those are my honorable mentions. I have a feeling just because when you were saying like about that period of time where it was just hit after hit after hit, I do agree with that. And I think maybe some of my choices on the list are possibly less rational in terms of the quality, and more
Well, that's why it's
like
the top
yours are more
favorite.
quality, and I think mine are more maybe more subjective, to the point of
I love it.
um I can't argue that they're great films. I just didn't like it as much as another one, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So it should
Like
be fun to talk about them, man.
absolutely, because yeah, this it pretty much is contained to that period for the
Yeah.
most part.
And I thought that's what I was gonna find.
Yeah.
And I kind of did. I kind of did, and then I went off at a tangent because what I did was I watched about 9 in 2 days,
Yeah, you
and
don't.
it just threw me
That's
through a
cool though.
loop. I was like, it was fun.
Yeah,
Um,
awesome way to spend 2 days watching movies with Argento.
yeah, and I'm glad we did it. Thanks for asking me as well, because I was like, right,
Oh
I'm
yeah,
gonna go back and revisit it. But then I sometimes mashed two films together in my head. So like Deep Red and Inferno, like I've kind of crushed them together into, because I've seen them both before,
Yeah.
but because I watched them back to back.
Yeah. I know what you mean. That
Like,
happens. Like
yeah.
I've seen most of his like 70s and 80s movies so many times, but like still that I've seen them. And I'm bad with names and movies to begin with. I don't really with it like foreign films. Like I'm even
Yeah.
worse with names.
Especially
Like
the long names, like,
oh yeah,
my eyes know what you did in the dark, and we're watching carefully, because if you don't watch carefully, you will die. You're
yeah.
like, oh yeah, that's my favorite film. Yeah, I love it.
I know. So well, like some of the titles like are pretty awesome. Like with some of
Yeah,
giallo movies, like not even
I
just
love
like
him. I love him.
his, but like ones that
Yeah.
instantly come to mind, like Sergio Martino's "Your Vice is a Locked Room and Only I Have the Key." That's an
Yes.
awesome title
What
to
a
a
great
movie.
title.
Like
Yeah.
even with
Yeah.
Bird with the Crystal Plumage is a great
Yeah.
title. Cat o' Nine Tails.
It gets your attention. Yeah.
Yeah,
I've
it
even
makes you
seen the shorter
immediately
ones,
interested.
because
Yeah,
it's got melodrama to it. They have melodrama in the titles, which we kind of in sort of the US, UK steer away from, because we don't put as much value on that kind of pulpy idea. But something
yeah,
like Hatchet for the Honeymoon, for example, is a
yeah.
great title. If you're picking that book up off the shelf, you know what it's going to be about,
No, yeah.
roughly,
And
and
you
it's
wanna know all
exciting,
the
and it is.
gory details.
Yeah, man. I watched that the other night again, and I
Yeah.
love that film. It's such a great
Oh,
film.
it's
But
great.
like, like you say, that was it your Vice is a. Oh, I always forget that one. The Vice is a lot of
You're
room, and I
oh,
have the key. What
yeah,
a
yeah.
great title! What a
Oh,
great
yeah.
title!
And I always consider this probably one of, if not the best, title for a horror
It is a
movie
great
is
film.
Mario Bava's,
Yeah.
Twitch of the Death Nerve.
Oh
Like,
yeah, like we said,
it's
that's a
like
great name
it's
for a band.
yeah, like that's as high as you can get, like for a name for a horror movie. Twitch of the Death
Yeah.
Nerve, like yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah,
Like
come on, man.
it's like I got to see it immediately with just
He's
that name, and then
like,
then you see it and you're like blown away. Amazing
yeah,
name, but yeah, they excel with that in the giallo subgenre of
yeah,
just
and I
like
think that
having
comes from
names that
the
draw you
books.
in. Oh yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, like those yellow books with the titles on. You imagine going to some sort of um bookshop where they've got all the books in a rack outside the
Yep.
bookshop, and in
And you're
Italy, and
looking at
people
the
are just,
titles.
yeah, they're just flicking through them, and that's when they're trying to get your attention, aren't they? So, yeah,
Absolutely.
and that's awesome. That's awesome.
All right. So now
Right.
on to the actual list. Number 10 for me is 1971's Four Flies on Grey Velvet.
Ooh, okay. So I have that too, but
Okay.
not for number 10.
All right. So we'll talk about it when we get to yours. What's your number 10?
My number 10 is Phenomena.
Okay. It's on mine. So we'll talk about that one.
Okay, cool.
Number 9, I have Trauma from 93.
Oh, I don't. That's not on my list.
That one is probably, yeah, the last post 90s one that's going to be on mine. But
Right. Okay.
has Dario Argento and like a
Mhm.
lot of his later movies, but this was kind of when she was pretty young still with this. But have you seen Trauma?
I have. I have. It didn't tick any boxes for me, and I only watched
It
it
is all over
recently.
the place. I'll say that. Like the plot is kind of very very convoluted, so I can definitely see like that being one reason at least for it not being on people's like favorite Argento movies. But I love the
Yeah,
effects,
for
like by Tom
me,
Savini. I love Piper
yeah,
Laurie,
it was.
the great late Piper Laurie that we just
That's a
lost.
good point.
Yeah, it's a fun one, and I feel like it's very
Yeah,
underrated.
yeah. I think for me, it was maybe a bit too much chasing around. Like there's just a lot of chasing around.
Yeah, there
But
is. I'll
the
give it that.
effects you can't argue against. And like you say, Piper Laurie's very good in it.
I like the whole
So yeah, I can see
device
why. I can
they
see why it's
use.
great.
The whole killer's device of the like strangulation box is a cool ass design for like a
Yeah,
weapon. I think Tom Savini made it up with Argento, like an actual device. So it has just a box and a
you're
wire that
changing my mind
comes
already. Then
out. Yeah, right. It comes out, you push the button, and it strangles you, and freaking decapitates you and shit. Like that's a great idea, but yeah, it gets overlooked. So
Yeah.
that's it came in.
Big,
I was
yeah, again, it was
debating.
one of those, maybe I need to focus more on it.
I was debating flipping it with four flies, like and having trauma at 10
Oh, okay.
and four flies at 9, but
Yeah.
it kind of I said, fuck it, let me throw trauma up a point. But yeah, 9 trauma. What's your number 9?
My number 9 is Inferno.
Awesome
And
movie.
the
That's
reason why
on
it's so low on the list, it's not on yours, or it is on yours?
Oh, it's on mine.
Oh, so I thought it would be. The reason it's not higher is you're going to laugh at this, really. There's just too much cat trauma in the film.
Too
Uh,
much catch all. Yeah, I mean, I can
and
see it. It's a valid
no,
excuse. It's like with
yeah,
people with Cannibal Holocaust and stuff that can't watch it because of the
yeah.
animal kills and stuff.
I'm
So
not even a
make
cat lover. Like I like cats. I'm allergic to cats.
yeah,
Um, I guess it's the kind of helplessness and the putting it in the bag and all that kind of stuff and the
yeah.
noises and
It is
everything.
a wild scene, and then yeah,
I do like the neon of it. I like the 80s feel. I like the house. There's loads of it that I like. Do you know the house being the focus, or the in these different parts of the trilogy? It reminds me a bit of, this is going to sound really crazy, but it reminds me a bit of like Doctor Strange, and now he's got that
yeah. I can see
little
what you mean.
building that's the
How they
focus.
just
But
and he does do that. He focuses right in on like it's the apartment in Inferno in New York, I think.
yeah,
Yeah, in New York, and we have in
yeah,
Suspiria. Obviously, it's the academy. I like how they do
yes.
that. How he utilizes that. And Argento
Mm,
has like one uncanny ability for like picking set pieces or places to film, because every set that he has, like early, even in Bird with the Crystal Plumage, you see it like the repeating trippy wallpaper or carpet patterns and stuff like that. And yeah, some of
yeah.
it is a product of its time, like when it was made, more that was in more at the time and stuff, but you don't see it as often. And like he utilizes all of that just perfectly, like in all his movies, like patterns, like especially wallpaper patterns, carpet patterns. Like some of my favorite shots in movies are in films of his and are just like symmetrical shots that involve patterns and stuff. And one or two of those will come up later.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a really good point. I think that the thought that goes into that allows, like, it doesn't need to be $1 billion, set building operation. It's just how it's filmed, having that eye. He's got like a cinematographer's eye, really.
Yeah, yeah, basically. Like he's just brilliant with
Yeah. Mm.
every like it's like he must just have like just like the greatest luck in the world with finding either like making either the set pieces or just like the filming locations throughout his career that he gets lucky enough to stumble upon or able to shoot in and stuff. And like it's like every time I watch like some movies of his, like again his Succession, it's like this guy like gets so lucky with everything, like every scene that he shoots and stuff is just the setting and the way that it looks just fantastic. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's
So
a good.
much of it is visual, isn't it? And yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, a lot of people say that like people who aren't big into Italian horror that it's style over substance, and I can see it to an extent. It depends on the director, really, and even more so the movie. But I mean, the
Yeah. I
style
mean, it's a harsh
definitely is.
criticism, really.
Yeah, the style is definitely something though that you notice in Italian horror immediately, and
Because it's
especially with
style
Argento.
and creativity, isn't it? It's the
Yeah,
creativity within that style. It's like, no one's just going to watch. Well, maybe they would, but it'd be more of an art piece. We're just looking at beautiful things. But
yeah,
like you were saying before about the creativity of the action within that, whether we're talking about Suspiria and the way the rooms look and the lighting and the razor blades and whatever it is,
yeah.
razor wire, there are things like that. You're looking at these things and you're going, that looks beautiful, but it has a purpose in the story, and
Mhm.
I've not seen it before. So it's very easy to dismiss something and say, "Oh, it just looks great." Yeah, but try replicating that. You can't.
Yeah,
Or there are certain people who, you watch, say, a film like Drive, or films like that, where they're trying to
right.
replicate elements of that, and
Yeah,
they succeed if they have creativity of their own. Otherwise, you're just ripping it off.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, the style obviously plays a big role with Argento's movies,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
for
the other
sure.
thing is music. Like
Yes.
all three of his first three movies in the Animal trilogy with Ennio Morricone scoring them,
Hmm.
amazing music there. And then just his long running collaboration with Goblin and Claudio
Yeah.
Simonetti of Goblin.
How
Just
strange would it be if he hadn't have fallen out with Ennio Morricone? Then we wouldn't have got those Goblin scores in the
I
films.
know, right? That
That's
that is
crazy.
that is something to think of, especially because like Suspiria and Deep Red, and especially those two.
Yeah,
It's like
they would
top
be such
tier
different films.
scores of all time for me. So like it's like, man, yeah, imagine
Yeah.
if those weren't there. I mean, I have no doubt
Uh,
Morricone could have made something great for them, but
oh
it wouldn't
yeah.
wouldn't be the same, like anywhere near
No,
the
wouldn't be
same.
the same film.
So
No.
all right, so that was number 9 for you, Inferno, right?
Hmm.
So
Yep.
number 8 is Bird with the Crystal Plumage from 1970.
Ooh. So I have got that much higher on my list.
All right, so let's wait for then. We'll talk about it. What's your number 8?
My number 8 is Cat o' Nine Tails.
All right, that's my number 7, so we can talk here, Cat of Nine Tails. So your number
Ooh.
8, my
Yeah.
number 7, Cat of Nine Tails from 71, his second movie, and this is in his words, he thinks this is his worst film, which always
Really?
blows,
I didn't know
yeah,
that.
which blows my mind because I love this movie. Like pretty much, like
Me
this
too.
whole list, I love every film on this list. But like I love Cat of Nine
Yeah.
Tails, and just speaking of Ennio Morricone, like his score for this movie is one of my favorite scores in an Argento movie. Like it did such a great score. I love the
Mm.
characters, the blind character, what's in Cookie, and the girl that he's with. What is his
Oh
niece or
yeah.
something like
Carl
that? And
Malden. Yeah.
great characters, and the whole story is, I mean, I could see because like it's kind of out there what they break into like a biotech lab, the murderer, and kill somebody, and then they have to figure this murder out. Like, and then like they try to involve like some like that biotech science, like genetic shit, like into the story a bit. I could see that throwing people off a little bit and like being kind of like, I don't know, all flat, like out of left
Yeah.
field. But I absolutely love that movie, Cat and Nine Tails. What do you feel
Yeah,
about it?
me too. I like the last act. Yeah, I definitely I enjoy the last act probably more than the first parts of the film. I like Carl Malden's character. I like the fact that it throws you off because you're kind of expecting something creepy about him or something bad about him, and he's pretty much just a good character, like a good person, and his obviously that's why the end of it is so shocking and exciting. Um, he stands out for me. The music stands out for me. Um, and again, it's nice that this is one written with Luigi Cozzi, who
Yeah,
I have a lot of time for as a filmmaker, just for fun, contamination, and behind me my poster of Star Crash. But
nice.
like, he's just a nice guy. Like, met him, he's a lovely guy, and they still work together and runs the shop for him. Is it Profondo Rosso shop in Italy? And like they do that.
Nice.
I just like the fact that this is a kind of collaboration with his crew, basically his crew of friends.
Yeah,
Um, Carl Malden, it's that following that pattern, isn't it, of the giallo films where you'd have one name American in there, whether it's Michael Brandon or
yeah, yep.
someone like that. And he's an interesting character. I think the blind element is is good too. It kind of adds something a little bit different to it. But I'm surprised. I didn't know that it was his least favorite of his own
Yeah. I
work.
mean, I don't know if he's counting. I don't know when that quote was from. I think it was like
Yeah,
early 2000s, mid 2000s. So I don't know. It probably doesn't include anything after that. But
yeah,
I mean, he hasn't made many films after 2000s. Like maybe just
yeah.
4 or 5.
It's funny that I just read after saying all that he demanded that he had sole screenplay credit because, like, I think we know that he is a prickly character, or historically quite a prickly character,
Yeah.
and not always the easiest to work with because he can kind of go through and go, oh, and that's when he fell out with this person.
Yeah. Yep.
So
And
it's
yeah,
quite interesting.
like speaking when you were talking about how it's always like the one American actor that's like in these movies. You have like John Saxon in Tenebrae, who's
Yeah,
so good in that movie, which I'm
yeah.
sure that's higher up for both of us.
How
But
many
yeah,
amazing films has he just wandered into? You know,
I know, right? Yeah, he's
Black
just
Christmas and
he's just so
Nightmare on Elm
many
Street.
just
Oh,
classics that he just has some supporting role in, and like he's always kills it. Great stuff
yeah.
by him always.
Underappreciated.
Oh yeah,
Underappreciated, I think, John Saxon.
yeah. No, he's great. So yeah, Cat and Nine Tails. That was your number 8. That's my number
Mhm.
7. So your number 7.
Number 7 is Deep Red.
Okay,
The
that's
reason
on
it's
my.
there for me is it higher up on yours?
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
so are we talking about it now, or should we wait?
Yeah, we'll wait.
We'll
We
wait.
can wait.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll wait. Yeah.
All right. Number 6 for me is Phenomena from
Ooh, okay.
'85. So you mentioned Phenomena earlier, right? Higher up.
Yeah, that was my number 10. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, Phenomena. What do you feel about it?
I like that it's in Switzerland for some reason. It's unusual to have a film in Switzerland. I like that about it.
Hmm.
I'm a fan of Donald Pleasance.
Yep.
You know, Jennifer Connelly's just literally just learning how to act in at
Oh
this
yeah.
stage of her career.
I've always
Uh,
loved her, and just seeing her in like in that role, and like her, like I think it was like her second film role, like her first
yeah,
starring or something like that, and
yeah.
like just seeing her starting off like her
It's really
career and stuff.
interesting, isn't it?
Oh
It's
yeah,
really interesting to see that. The central idea of the film, the controlling of nature, is fascinating, really interesting. Um, some of the soundtrack. I think we've got some. You know, I think is this one with Iron Maiden in it, or maybe I'm
yeah,
mixing them. So yeah.
yeah. It is
So we've got a real
Flash of the Blade.
yes, yeah. So
Love Power
you can
Slave, so good.
some of these things pop up, and you're just like, oh, that's interesting. Um, I think it, it's a tricky one. I've tried with this film a couple of times, and it just doesn't tick the right boxes for me. But like I say, with Donald Pleasance in a film keeps my attention, but I don't know. It's just something about it doesn't quite hit with me. It is a nice idea to have that kind of because I know it had lots of different names, and they couldn't quite find a
Yeah,
sort of
I know.
an avenue to
Creepers. A
put it in
lot of
and say
people know
this is
it
what
is.
it is. Yeah, and cut things
Yeah.
out and put them in. Um, but yeah, what do you think? Do you obviously you think you like it better than I do? So what is it that you
Oh
like about
yeah,
it?
I love Phenomena. I like just Donald Pleasance playing just being his wacky self as always, playing this entomologist, and his whole relationship with Jennifer Connelly's character. I love their whole relationship. I love the chimp.
If she
I
is,
mean,
I'm shocked. I remember.
you got a chimp there. I mean, that's something you don't get every day in a movie.
Yeah, I didn't even mention the Jim. Yeah.
Who comes to save the day, and one Daria Nicolodi, which I think it's the first we brought up her name. She's just excellent. I love her so much as just like a person, as an actress, and she heavily played a big role in why Suspiria was as good as it was. She's co-writing it with Dario Argento,
Oh,
but she plays
interesting.
such a crazy villain, and she nails that performance, in my opinion, at the end of that movie. in Phenomena. Like
She's
she
probably
just
like
does.
the Deborah Hill of Argento films, you know, in the
Yeah,
sense of
yeah,
people
pretty much.
sometimes undersell how important she was. If you go back and watch
Absolutely.
Halloween and how the female characters are written and how they speak and how
Yep.
authentic it
Oh,
is,
that's old
and
Deborah.
yeah, and the same goes, you know, you're thinking about Suspiria. It's a group of girls in a like dance school essentially, isn't it? And you know, ballet school, and it feels authentic as well.
She
Um,
was very heavy into like folklore and fairy tales, and that's why Suspiria has such a fairy tale-esque feel to it.
oh, cool. And that works really well with ballet because you've got that kind of,
Yeah,
you know, almost like Sugar Plum Fairy and all the kind of fairy tale kind of elements to ballet. So that's fascinating. I didn't really realize that until you said that, but it explains a lot. And
yeah,
like you say, I totally forgotten about the chimp and I don't know how I forgot. I know that he didn't get along or he wasn't particularly nice to Jennifer Connelly.
yeah.
Um, the other thing I remember about it is that Argento wanted her actor father to be, or her absent actor father to be Al Pacino, and
Oh, yeah,
and he was just like, I don't really want to have my name just attached to being this father who sends his kid off to.
yeah. Off
I
to
just think
boarding
that's so
school.
funny.
That's yeah. There's a lot of fun little tidbits behind the
I,
scenes of
I
his
like that
movies.
though. I like that idea. You know, it's a bit
Yeah,
like
right.
sometimes
Al
like
Pacino's daughter there.
yeah, it's like that. What's the film with they go in this being John Malkovich kind of thinking, you know?
Yeah,
It's like
that's a great movie, actually.
yeah, it is. Or Nicolas Cage playing himself.
Yeah. So I mean, he's always nuts, Nicolas Cage. Like,
Yeah, man.
sometimes in a good way, sometimes in a bad way. It depends on the performance. But all right. So yeah, my number six. Yeah, great movie. So Phenomena. So you're number six.
It is Mother of Tears.
Okay.
Um, yeah. So that's not on your list, is it? That was an
No, that was
honorable
an
mention.
honorable mention. Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, out of the ones I've watched all the modern ones relatively recently, I thought it was the best modern one. I know we talked a bit about it before, so I won't go on and on about it. But like, I like the chaos and the wildness when things just go off
Yeah.
about 2/3 into the film. The end scene lets it down a little bit for me. That is like
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's endings
that.
like that always tend to do that. Like for me, like when with like insane laughter. Like it,
It's like, oh, what
unless
a
it's like
crazy day.
unless it's like a real out there movie, and this doesn't even happen in this
Yeah.
movie, but like it's just an example of like, and this actually is related to Argento because Claudio Argento helped get this made. Santa Sangre, Jodorowsky's movie. It's a very avant-garde,
Oh yeah, I think I've got that on
crazy
my list. I've
fucking
not seen it.
movie. Yeah, it's a masterpiece of a movie. Like the lighting in that looks
I
fantastic,
heard that. I heard that. Yeah.
but that movie, like, it doesn't have that like maniacal laughing, but that's like something that would work in a crazy movie like that. Besides
Mm.
that, like, yeah, it's very hard to take like an ending like that seriously, like
It
in
made me
any
feel
type
a
of
bit of
movie.
Die Hard. You know, just like they
Yeah,
just needed the snow coming down, and she just lights a cigarette at the end. As well.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, the
I
weather
mean, yeah,
outside
it's
is
kind of like
dreadful.
that in Phenomena too, with Dario
Yeah.
Nicolodi at the end when the chimp kills her. Like before that, she's laughing like a maniac too.
Yeah, true. So that was my best modern one, and I'm so glad I was able to put a modern one in there because it kind of makes me um, not as set in my mindset that all of his ones from this period are good and all of this ones were bad, which is what
Oh
I
yeah,
thought before I started on my mission to watch as many as I could in 2 days. That's how my mind was working with Argento. So I'm glad that I've got that as high up on the list as I have.
I'd agree that it's his top of his later films. My number five is Inferno.
Ooh, okay.
I love Inferno. I love the music and the score by Keith Emerson. I'm a huge progressive rock fan, like Genesis, Yes, Rush, all of them, ELP. So just knowing and having Keith Emerson do the score is something I
Yeah.
love about this movie. Like when you brought it up earlier, the neon colors compared to like Suspiria's dark red and the greens and stuff. Here you get more of like a lighter palette with the pinks and the blue and stuff like that that's used to a great extent throughout it. The kills are great in this. The effects look great.
Yeah.
I love this whole movie. Love Inferno.
Yeah, this is it. I think you get rid of the cat trauma, and maybe I put it higher.
Yeah. All right, we'll take that out. And that is a weird scene. And there's always weird scenes in Argento movies, I feel like, with
True.
that. And he does
If
get
that was
it.
a human being, I'd be fine with it.
Yeah, I know, right?
Human being in a bag, being poked and
And
eaten,
then he
and
does end up getting it. He ends up getting eaten by
yeah,
rats after he gets
yeah.
killed.
Hey, that's why it's still on my list of 10. You know,
Yeah,
I didn't
right.
just get rid of it altogether.
It's like
'Cause he got
cat
his
trauma, get out of here, off the
yeah,
list.
get the fuck out of here with your cat trauma.
So yeah, number 5, Inferno.
My number 5 is Four Flies on Grey Velvet,
Okay.
which
Yeah, that was my number 10.
that was your number 10. So it's quite high for me, and I'm going to put it down to one main reason why it's so high. Orosio, the private investigator, I love his character arc. I love the comedy in his character.
Yeah, he's a good character.
I love that he has failed so many times at his job that he sees that as a positive because the next one can only be a success. Like,
yeah.
I just love that about him.
He's a well-written character.
I love it. I love it.
That's it's a tricky movie for me. I just rewatched it again like the other night, and it's probably my least favorite of his first 9 movies.
Okay.
But
it's not the most exciting film, is it?
It's still an excellent film. Like it's still excellently directed. There's some great shots in there. The whole ending shot, though, the car wreck with the killer at the end, with her at the end when she crashes into, and the music playing, and how slow and the slow mo and stuff, and then she's decapitated and stuff. All of that is fantastic. Like, and I feel like there's a lot, and then you have a lot of stuff that you'll see later in his, especially, and then in his next movie in Deep Red, like same thing, a musician protagonist. That's something that
the musician side of it,
doing.
Michael Brandon is a bit bland. He's not like
I don't
exciting as say
like
David
his
Hemming's character.
Yeah, I don't like his character that much. That's probably another thing that brings it down for me, is not.
Yeah, he's much better as he gets older, and he's in things like I don't know if Dempsey and Makepeace was as popular in America, because I think it was like one of these things where we bring one American over, make a British cop show, and the selling point is like American guy with British woman, and it was certainly he plays a strong silent type a bit better than a kind of relaxed musician type, and I don't quite see why all the women think he's amazing. Like he's a good looking guy, but he just seems maybe not very worldly or interesting or exciting as a character. So that's why maybe I mentioned the private investigator first, because he has such a great arc, particularly when he realizes that he was right.
Yeah,
it's fully realized. His story goes full circle, even in the restaurant where
he might be one of my favorite parts of the movie. Actually, now that you're like talking more about it, his character might be like one of my favorite things. I mean, the score by Ennio Morricone's great again.
Yeah,
it's not as good as Cat of Nine Tails for me. Like nowhere near as good as that score. And Bird with Crystal Plumage has a good score to it too, but it's not a favorite of mine. So I think Cat of Nine Tails has the best out of the Animal trilogy, the best score. Probably Bird has the best story.
Yes.
And then that's what I mean. Like this one just kind of is like, it's great. It's excellent. Like
you have to think of them as a 3. That's the thing. It's like,
I
know. This is the thing. It's the same with the Mothers trilogy. You know, you do think of them as a 3, which means that something like Mother of Tears does suffer in comparison, which is a shame. But that's kind of the whole point of it, is really, I guess, that he wants you to think of it as one massive movie. But we don't. That's not how movie goers think, or it's not how we think. It's like no one go. I suppose they do with something like, say, Star Wars, where people who are maybe our age or a bit older, they'll just go, "Well, I just like the original three."
Yeah. Exactly.
No, I don't know if Argento fans are just like, I just like the Mother's trilogy. I just like the Animal. They're more like, I like this bit of this one and this bit of that one, and
That's
I like that
actually,
bit.
it's interesting that when you just said, I wonder if there are. I'm sure there are, but like how common,
Mm,
who knows? Fans of
mm.
Argento who just love the Animal trilogy and don't like
Yeah,
any of his later films, like Deep Red
it's a
or
good way of
Suspiria or Inferno
compile.
or
Yeah,
anything like after those. Like
putting things into a box. You can
I
put them
wonder
into
if
a
they
box or a
exist.
box
I'm
set, and
sure like people who are like pure giallo fans. I mean, but Deep Red is like the best giallo ever. So like, I don't know how they wouldn't like that movie. But like, I'm sure there are people who just like his first three
maybe,
movies. But you
maybe.
never hear about them because they're insane. So
That
so yeah, that's you're what, number 5?
was my number 5. Yeah,
All right, so number
go for it.
4 for me is Suspiria.
Ooh, okay. So for me, it's a bit higher.
Okay, we'll talk about it then. You're number 4.
My number 4 is opera.
I have that higher, so we'll talk about that. Number 3 for me is Tenebrae.
Okay, I have that slightly higher.
All right, you're number 3. This is where
The
it's
bird
gonna
with
get
the
in.
crystal plumage.
Okay. All right, yeah, that was my
So
number 8.
that was your number 8. We talked about that.
Not really. No.
No. So what I like about the bird with the it's British, that ain't it? The bird with the that bird.
Yeah,
The
or you
bird.
could say like the girl who knew too much, kind of similar. Like, and
Yeah,
that's a Bava film.
that's true. I get. Yeah. Again, we go back to long titles and I forget the names.
Yeah,
The bird with the crystal plumage. For me, it's great because it's all of the tropes of giallo before they became tropes, and it's so creative. I think it's such a creative film.
yeah.
Um, I like the use of lots of crowds. There's lots of use of crowds and people looking similar to other people,
Mhm.
and confusion. There's a good feeling of confusion in it that makes the audience that they're in on that confusion as well.
The
Um,
mystery is excellent in that movie.
yes,
Like
that's a
the
better way of
mystery
putting it than I was
aspect
going
and the
to.
who
Yeah.
done it and
Yes.
everything is just so well done. And yeah, as a directorial debut, like it's
Yes.
just like a masterpiece for like a first film from
Yeah.
somebody. And like with
Yeah.
that movie is pretty much like when the giallo subgenre like blew up. I mean,
It's
even though like
setting
you
those things in place.
yeah, like you'd go back like to maybe like Bava with uh Blood and Black Lace or The Girl
Mm.
Who Knew Too Much, and like that's like 63 or so
I
with like
guess
the
it's
first giallos maybe, but like Bird with the Crystal
modernizing it or
Plumage,
making it.
yeah, was the one that
Yeah.
made it like more known to people, and then it blew up and you got all the friggin' Jollos that came like in the 70s.
Yeah.
So I
I
mean,
think
it's a very influential film.
it's one of those, isn't it? Like you say, you could go back and find all of these things, but maybe when someone puts all of them together in one package that looks so good, sounds so good, acted so well, and like you say, the story is so tight, they've managed to just put all the pieces together and then start
Mm.
off a complete movement from it. So he's like, it's stronger than the sum of its parts from some of those other films that came before it. And that's I guess how you get someone like that's how you get I guess how you get these named directors, isn't it? It's not that they're doing anything that no one else has done, it's that they're doing all of those things better in one package. It's like it's not like there hasn't been a monster movie before Jaws, or there hasn't been a like Star Wars is essentially Western tropes, but in
Yeah,
space,
in
and
space. Yep.
you put these things together, and it works. And I think that's why the bird with the crystal plumage is just like a really good entry level giallo. It probably was one of the first ones I saw anyway, and maybe
Yeah.
a lot of other people.
Yeah.
So
Along with
yeah.
Deep Red for me. Yeah. Deep Red and Bird were probably in the top
Mhm.
in the first 5 that I saw.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
that
I
makes
feel like
sense.
those are
So your
very
number, sorry, go on.
those are, I feel like those are just like very introductory yeah, giallos that a lot of people see first just because how high in regard they're held.
Yes, yeah,
And just like the whole like just talking with Four Flies when we were talking about how the main character is just not that
no,
compelling, but like I love Sam in Bird with Crystal Plumage. Like I think
that's a
Sam's
good
a
point. Yeah,
great.
you remembered his name, so it's a good
Yeah,
start.
yeah, like yeah, exactly, right. That's how you know that I like a character in a movie. If I know their name, they're fucking worthy. But yeah, Sam's a great character. Is
Yep.
girlfriend? I think it is. They're not married, are they? I don't remember. The
Oh,
she's a good character.
yeah, Susie Kendall.
Yes,
Oh, yeah,
she's the actress. Yeah,
she's been in some good films, and like for me, she's up there. She's not quite for me. My kind of 70s crush actress is Susan George, Die Screaming Marianne, and films
yeah,
like that. But Susie Kendall was in quite a lot of these, wasn't she?
yeah.
A lot
And
of kind of
she's great in this. There's some infamous shots of the art gallery, like when he's trapped like inside and he could see witnesses the murder happening, and
yeah,
that whole art gallery just looks stunning. Like
yeah. That's so
everything in it, the art
yeah,
pieces, and then like the one that they bring in later that has like what is it, like the spikes on it and stuff that falls down at the end that almost like kills him. Like all of that
yeah,
looks fantastic. But like him,
yeah.
like and the
I want
way
to go
they
and watch it again now.
yeah, the way they handle the mystery and stuff is great, and I love the title again. The title, "The Bird with the Crystal Plumage,"
Well,
and
yeah,
that
what a title.
that's literally what leads him to figuring out who the killer is the bird,
Yeah, it's nice.
which is all of that is so well handled.
It's perfectly realized film, and
Yeah,
yeah, that's why for me it was my number three. Um, did we get your number three?
my number 3 was Tenebrae, which you said you have a little higher.
Oh yeah, okay.
So my number
um,
2
number two.
is and these last 4 basically like Suspiria, Tenebrae, and these next 2, like I said, they all revolve so close to each other. It's not even funny, but these top 2 especially go in and out. But my number 2 is Deep Red.
Oh, okay.
You
So
had it at
number seven.
number 7.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
mine.
Deep
Number seven.
Red is like in my top 10 films of all time. I just love everything about
I can
this
see
movie.
it.
I love Mark and his whole character. Like that's probably my favorite character in an Argento movie. Like main
Oh,
character
cool.
is I just love his sarcasm, his wit, like everything about how that character was played is so good in that.
Yeah, he is. He does exactly what we were saying that Brandon, is it Michael Brandon? Michael Brandon didn't
Yeah.
do in Four Flies on Grey Velvet because
Yep.
David Hemmings is very a magnetic presence in
Yeah.
the film.
And just the way he
His
is
relationship with
dynamic.
Carlo,
Yeah, and his dynamic with both Carlo and with Dario Nicolodi. It's
mm.
fantastic in that movie. And like there's like the
And
arm
some of the funny
wrestling
stuff.
scene. They like when they arm wrestle and him
Yeah,
saying
some of the
like
stuff with
their
the
whole
mother as well is quite funny.
oh yeah.
Um,
And
she's
then
getting his job mixed up, and
oh yeah, and the opening like scene with the psychic, the theater looks fantastic. Like that whole scene is awesome. That when her kill looks awesome with the hatchet going into her and being pulled out, and then that shot that you get like
yeah,
when he sees the murder going on and he hears the scream, he looks up and then you see her like up against the window and then gets smashed through the glass. All of that is just fantastic, and
yeah,
probably one of my favorite things about this movie. I mean, the score, obviously, with Goblin is fantastic, but like you see the killer right at the beginning of the movie, like when
of
Mark goes
course,
into
yeah,
the apartment after he hears and sees that she was murdered, and that's a very, very brilliant thing that Argento did there because Mark mentions it right after that, like to the police, like, did you guys move anything? Like, he feels like something was changed from just a few minutes ago before the cops got there. And then at the end, when you find out that, like, he's thinking it's a painting that was there and it wasn't there anymore. And then when he finally realizes that it was a person and it was a mirror reflecting the person's image, that's such a great twist. I think it's
Yeah.
the way he does that and handles that and it's very risky too, because like it's shown so quickly in the beginning of the film. Like when he walks down the hall, you see, if like once you know to look for it, you see right in the reflection, you see the mom's face. And like
Right.
for him to, so like for your first time watching the movie itself, I don't think many people pick up on it. I know I didn't.
No, do you know what? I think I could probably move it from 7 to 5. Already just through us chatting about it. A bit like when I was saying a few things before, and you were like, "Oh, actually, it's a bit better than
Yeah,
or
yeah,
this character." Because as much as I like Four Flies on Grey Velvet, I was maybe sold more on one of the characters, and I was really interested in him. Deep
yeah,
Red's more realized. They've got a good relationship, haven't they? They've almost got like what did they used to call it? Like the American style 40s and 50s scatter shot back and forth,
yeah,
kind of they're trying to between the two of them, that you don't see in any other Argento films. Their chemistry is really good. They're constantly bickering and falling out, and
yeah.
like you say, arm wrestling, and that's really interesting. Like Gianna and yeah, Marcus, isn't it? And like
Yeah. It
they're
it
just
keeps
kind
it keeps like
yeah,
the dialogue scenes and stuff between the action scenes and the murder scenes and stuff. It keeps
yeah.
your interest a lot more than
It's like a
like you're
screwball
saying, like,
comedy kind of thing.
yeah, yeah, like and like we were saying, compared to like in Four Flies, like it keeps they're
Yeah.
dynamic and stuff that keeps your interest a lot more.
I'm changing my list. I'm gonna throw
Okay.
them out, throw my list away now.
There you go. Get rid of that shit. No. But yeah, Deep Red is in the top, is my in my top 10 films. So it's just that, yeah, as important as Suspiria, that the score is to Suspiria, the score in
Mhm.
Deep Red is just as important to the movie too. Like
Cool. Yeah.
the whole kid singing la 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 la, all that, and then just the Goblin score. Then like throughout it, there's different sections that repeat. Like all of it is used just to like
Yeah.
perfection, like
And
perfect.
critically, people love it, don't they? As well. Like I think
Oh yeah,
it is seen as if the best, if not one of his best,
yeah,
across the
yeah, for
board.
sure.
For a film that's quite one of his longest films, I think, as well. So.
So yeah, Deep Red, my number two. What is your number two?
My number two is Tenebrae.
All right, that's my number
Um,
three. So go. How
right.
do you feel with that?
I think it's such a great comment on his critics. It's a comment on
Hmm.
giallo and critics of giallo in such a like it's meta before people started saying meta all the time. Like it's like, oh, you don't like my films? Well, then I'll dial it up to 100 and
Yeah.
do some
And you
crazy shit
you
and
think I'm
see how
against
you like that.
women? You think I'm against women and stuff like that? Then I'm gonna incorporate it into my movie and fuck you. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
great.
It's such a film of an angry young man or an angry person just going, right, I'll fucking show you. Like this is, I'm gonna throw it all at the screen,
Yep.
and like I love that passion. It's such a passionate, crazy film,
Oh
and
yeah.
it looks unlike a lot of his films. It's it's almost like an episode of Miami
I
Vice
was gonna say it's like
where
a procedural. Yeah.
yeah, where
The feel to it.
it's gone off. Like Miami Vice has gone like on an LSD trip or something. Like it's it's just I love it, and it's one of the. It's not one that I've watched lots of times. It's not one that I watched over and over or returned to. In fact, it's relatively recent. I watched it, and I was not expecting to like it as much as I did, and it just blew me away. It was never going to be my favorite one because, and I'll explain when I get to the top one why
Yeah.
I can't think of anything else in the top one. But oh, what a film! Yeah, what are your thoughts on Tenebrae? Like what?
Yeah. What you said about the commentary and stuff like that, and him like being meta before being meta, and all. I agree with all that. Like all that's excellent. The way that he just didn't care and just said like, all right,
that's it, really. Yeah,
if you're gonna keep hating and shit, and like you think I'm sexist and you think I'm misogynist and that I'm a terrible person, I'm evil, and then fucking here you go. Like here's more of it. And
and John
like you
Saxon
said,
as well. I
just
didn't
crank.
even
John
mention John
Saxon
Saxon.
is so great in this. I love the whole recurring gag with his hat, his top hat. It doesn't come off, and then like later it comes off when he gets killed. Like his character's great. Peter Neal, the main character, is great.
Yeah.
Everything about this movie, the soundtrack by Goblin, even though it was after they broke up, but it's all the members of Goblin still fantastic in this. The kills are great. Probably, probably my favorite ending for an ending for an Argento movie is this movie with just the arm cut off and the spray of blood on the white wall and shit. That's one of my favorite shots in Argento film too.
Don't you think as well, Peter Neal? I like, and this is a crazy one, but I like to think of Peter Neal as almost like like a Sutter Kane from In the Mouth of Madness.
Yeah,
Like...
that's my third favorite. That's my third favorite Carpenter film. I love In the Mouth.
Oh, cool! I love that film as well, and
Yeah.
I like the idea of like a
I've had
writer of
that thought
Stephen King's.
actually. Now that you said
I
it, like
like
I've
it too.
definitely linked the two of them in my head before. A good
Oh
idea.
man,
Bring
that's
that up.
amazing. Because I
Yeah,
just thought you
I've
might just go,
definitely.
"What the fuck is he
No,
talking
I
about?"
definitely have had that thought. Like while either watching one or the other,
Oh, cool.
the other popped into my head because I can see it.
Yeah,
Like
just
he's like,
because that scary idea that is so popular and it's
yeah,
creating havoc for everyone around him in one way or
yeah.
another. Um,
And this is
I'd
the
love
killer
to have a
copying
bookshelf
his
full of
novel.
Peter Neal books.
Yeah,
Peter Neal on
right.
one shelf and behind me, and then
And
like
then
Sutter Kane underneath.
you take the covers of his too, and you put them all together and make a map, and it tells you where he's spending his next book tour. And we're at number one, right? All right.
So what you've said your number two, haven't you? Was Deep Red?
Yes, Deep Red was number two. So my number one, which like I said, you could switch this with Deep Red any other day, is Opera from '87.
Oh wow!
I
Cool! I love opera.
I adore Opera. That was you mentioned Opera.
Yeah, it was my number 4.
Okay, yeah. I love Opera so much. The kills are fantastic in this. The whole idea and premise to this is brilliant of just forcing this young woman, Betty, to watch this guy kill people all around her by putting needles under her eyes and stuff so she can't blink. All of that is just fantastic. Like just the warped mind that came up with that from
the
Argento.
eye horror, eye trauma. I
Yeah.
imagine for some people that is impossible. Like I wear contact lenses and I touch my eyes. I have an eye condition. I've had lots of. I'm always in the hospital. People poking and prodding my eyes. But I have friends who you can't even go near them like that with your finger. And so for those people, this must be horrendous.
Oh yeah, and just there's so many great shots of just the close-ups of the eyes with the pins and stuff, and like point of view shots like of her eyes, and then you see the needles in front of the camera, like all great camera tricks and stuff. The kill with when Dario Nicolodi's character gets killed through the peephole with the gun. That's just perfection. Like the way all of that is handled and crafted with the bullet slow motion coming through the peephole and it blows her into her head and she floats backward to the ground. Fantastic. Like there's not.
Do you think people maybe might not watch it because they think, oh, I'm not interested in opera? Like they think it might be that might put certain people off because for me, I'm really interested in things like that, like behind the scenes, just like behind the scenes of a writer or behind the scenes of a TV or something. I quite like all that kind of stuff, like a Larry Sanders or whatever.
Yeah.
But like this, the people did rip this off quite a lot. I feel like there's quite a few films where it's like a theatre company of people and stuff's going on. But this is the definitive one, isn't it? This is the
Yeah,
It,
and it's funny that
it
you
doesn't get
mentioned that because I always say
speedrun.
I'm not a big fan of opera music, but
Yeah,
I love all the music in this movie. Like, I think the
yeah,
score
yeah.
is great, all the music and the performances that they put on in the opera are great. Like,
Mm.
this is a more, I don't want to say more stylish, but like in some way, I don't know, it's different from Deep Red.
Yeah,
It's,
it is. It is. It's lighter as well. Like the lighting isn't as neon and bright. It's like it's almost like a classic, almost like a black and white film in a way, where like a Phantom of the Opera kind of, but
mm,
but much more violent, much more ramping up all the things that Argento does so well.
yeah, we
Um,
get the point of view shot from the birds look awesome like throughout it, and you have the bird that eats the person's eye near the
yeah,
end, like, which is fantastic looking. All everything, like, there's not a thing I don't love about this movie, so that's why it
no,
is my
it's great.
number
Yeah.
one.
Well, yeah, that makes perfect sense. And when like obviously it's my number four, and obviously those four films are all films I have on my letterboxd either nine out of, sorry, 4 or 5 out of 5,
Mm,
or even I think they might all four of them might be like Opera, The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, Tenebrae, and Suspiria. Oh, just giving away my number one,
mhm.
but I'll give them all 5, 5 stars. So like you say, it's hard to kind of choose, but I couldn't argue wherever you wanted to put this film because it is a great film. It is a really, really great film.
Yeah, operas, I feel like it's definitely underrated still amongst his great
It
films.
is, and I wonder if it is that idea, like you say, that people just like, oh, geez, it's going to be quite boring because it's about
Yeah,
opera music, and
and then
which is
just,
really
like,
strange because the name of it is opera as well. So, like, if it was
yeah,
called something else,
yeah, and sucked
like
you into
Suspiria
it.
isn't called. If Suspiria was called ballet, it might
Yeah.
not have been as popular.
I mean, that's a good point for sure. What is your number one Argento movie?
Wow. Well, take a guess.
I was gonna
It
say
is
Suspiria.
Suspiria. It
I I
is
I
the
will say
film.
that is his best
Go on.
movie. That and Deep Red, I will say, are, I think, his best films. Like, and
Right.
just like,
But we're talking
well,
favorites. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I would say
Yeah.
Suspiria is a movie I recommend to everyone like who wants to get into Italian horror.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
usually either
Me too.
that or City of the Living Dead by Fulci or Zombie by Fulci. Like, it's probably one of those three movies or another one
Right.
or two,
Yeah.
but usually
I would
always
say that I'm the
Suspiria.
same. If somebody says to me a film, because I feel this is a film like Suspiria genuinely scares me in a way that I don't have a rational response to it. I have a physical response to this film. Whereas the other films,
Oh,
I watch them as films. Whereas for some reason, when I sat watching Suspiria for the first time, it put my teeth on edge, my fingers. I was scratching at my like. I just felt creeped out. A combination of the music, the lighting, the the quiet bits in the film, the sort of the building of tension, the
yeah,
rooms, the razor room stayed with me for so long. It stayed in my mind. It stays in. It's never left.
yeah,
I think it is genuinely my scariest film I've ever seen. Not in the sense of the things that happen in it are like extreme or they're not. It's not like Terrifier 2, not peeling people in the
yeah,
bedroom
yeah.
and stuff.
The
But
way the emotions it provokes.
yes, yeah, and in a way, I don't know how. It's like magic to me. This film, I don't know how it makes me so scared, but it does. Um, it creeps me the fuck out, which isn't a particularly film school way of putting it, but it does. Um, it's got everything that Argento does well, and it. I don't know if it is accessible to people or not, but it's obviously well regarded. Like we say, maybe if opera had a different title, people might be talking
Yeah,
about it in
yeah,
the same way. But I do think it just for me, Suspiria. I agree. It's his best made film, but also it's my favorite, so it had to be number one, and it probably would never switch. Um, So
Yeah,
yeah, that's all I've got to say about
Suspiria.
it, really. Other than I don't know why. I think it's the unknowable part of it, the ominous part of it, it touches me in a way that other films maybe don't, and I don't know why that is. And I think I put that down to the masterful creation of the film. So
Oh yeah.
that's my number one. So what do you
I
think,
mean,
Suspiria?
yeah, Suspiria is one of the few movies that could put me in a trance watching it, like an absolute trance. Like between it's top 5 scores of all time for me. It's pretty much the same level of Halloween. The way that Halloween score by Carpenter is utilized throughout the film perfectly.
Yeah, good point.
It's the same thing with this movie, with Suspiria. That it's just every time that theme kicks in and just keeps building. It's in some of the best shots ever are in this movie. Like when at the very beginning when we get the epic double kill, when best top 3 best hanging scenes, like hanging deaths, when she comes from the ceiling after getting stabbed in the heart. The first time I saw that, like, when did I first see Suspiria? Like in early teens or something like that. When I saw like the heart being stabbed, I was like, yo, this is like crazy. I've never seen that before. Like, like seeing a heart being stabbed, and it's a great effect. But then, like, when the ceiling comes crashing down, the stained glass. But like when the woman's screaming like "help! There's a murder!" and she's like banging on the door, and then there's the shot of her like with the wallpaper on both sides are like symmetrical and stuff, and the
Yeah.
patterns. That's one of my favorite shots in a movie. When at the end, and when Sarah's body's laying there and the theme's playing, and then it pans down her body with the pins in her eyes and like the razor wire. That's one of my favorite shots in the movie. So yeah, I mean, it's a perfect film.
That's you just pretty much said the reason why I can't and I know it's good, and people, well, I don't know it's good, but people tell me it's good. I can't watch the modern remake of it. I just think it'll upset me in a strange way.
I actually like the
I know it's
remake.
supposed to be excellent. I know, and everybody who tells me about it tells me it's great. Like, I've not heard one bad thing about it.
Yeah, it's just very
Um,
different. It's just completely
yeah,
different, especially style wise, especially like because
maybe I do need to see it. I don't know. I
I
don't
think
know.
he said that like why do I always forget the director Guadalgani or like someone with G on
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
but like
Luca.
he said like there's no way that you can recreate like the color palettes and like everything that Argento did in Suspiria. So like we're not even gonna try, and we're just gonna make it our own way and make it look our own
The
way.
thing that put me off as
They
well
didn't even
was
try it.
yeah, I tried watching Bones and All, and I watched maybe 2/3 of that, and I got super bored. Um, and I was like, oh, maybe I'm not gonna like Suspiria or the modern Suspiria. But then again, I've only heard good things about it. The actors in it are top notch, and it maybe it would be interesting for me to see it.
They
But
utilized the ballet a lot better and a lot more in the
more is it
remake.
more like Black Swan kind of feel to it?
I haven't seen Black Swan forever, but
Okay.
yeah, kind of like yeah, it's more focused on the dance. Like there's full on dance routines in it, but like good in a
Okay.
good way, like in a good way,
All right,
like
in a good way. Okay, okay.
tribal trippy type shit, like not like just
Yeah,
like ballet shit. Like yeah, it's a little long. I'll say that like they could have trimmed 20 minutes. It's like two
yeah, because
hour 20
Suspiria, the
minute
original,
movie
is
or
is
so.
an hour 39, isn't it?
Yeah,
So,
that's it's like
and then
two
the
and a half
modern one is
hours
2.5
almost.
hours. Yeah,
Yeah, they
yeah.
could have trimmed 20 minutes off at least, like
Jeez,
20 minutes. But
it's a TV
it's
series.
still great. Like I consider it one of the better, if not one of the best remakes from the 2000s like onward.
Okay,
It's just
maybe
very
people are putting. If everybody writes in your comments that I should watch it, I'll watch it.
yeah, yeah, that's right in
Subscribe to JT's channel. Write in the
yeah,
comments.
and right in to make Matt watch Suspiria, the remake from
I'll do it,
2018.
man. Yeah, I have to be
But all right,
told.
that is our top 10 Dario Argento movies. Do you guys agree? What is your list? Leave it below. Take care, guys. Thanks for hanging out.